There are lots of financial talking heads out there, but there's only one who's local to Tucson. Welcome to Saving with Silverman. Mark Silverman is a certified financial planner, and he's here to help you with your financial questions. Today, we'll try to educate you about the financial world and encourage you to think of solutions to your financial goals. So, let's get started. Saving with Silverman starts now.
Welcome to Saving with Silverman, starring Mark Silverman. You're a certified financial planner professional, the president of Silverman and Associates in Tucson, serving all of southern Arizona. Mark's not a guy who just comes down to Tucson and does this show once a week. He's here, lives, breathes, sleeps, loves this community, involved with the community, and would love to have a conversation with you about your situation, whatever that is. Call or text 520-333-7601, 520-333-7601. My name is Ron Stutz, and haven't done the show with you in a while, Mark. Glad to be back on with you.
Happy to talk to you again, Ron. It's always a pleasure.
Again, that number is 520-333-7601. Mark Silverman can certainly help you, and you can call that number or you can send a text to that number as well, whichever is more convenient for you. More than just investments. You are more than just an advisor, and today we can talk about more than just investments. There's a lot more to retirement planning than just picking investments, and the question is your advisor helping you navigate all of these different areas? I thought I'd throw out a few here, and you could talk about these at length. How about Social Security? I guess it's very important to have an advisor who helps you decide the right thing to do when it comes to Social Security.
Absolutely right, Ron. You know, this sounds like it's one of the hot topics right now, but really helping people decide when they should take Social Security, and everybody's situation is a little bit different. How we help people is we have software that we utilize. So we could actually take somebody's information, put it in the software, analyze where they are, if they're going to continue working or not, and show them the different amounts that they would be getting if they were to take it early, say at age 62, or if they took it at full retirement age, which is, you know, for most people 66 to 67, or should they wait and defer it to age 70? That's when it maxes out, but you do get 8% guaranteed per year the longer you defer it up until age 70. And so that's a big benefit. I mean, I tell people all the time, the only way you're going to get 8% guaranteed is through the government. It doesn't exist anywhere else on a guaranteed basis. So, you know, how do you make that decision? That's something we can help people with. And like I said, we use software, which really helps illustrate it for a lot of people because it can be quite confusing. And it's a decision that once you make it, you're stuck with. So you want to make sure you make the right decision.
There are other things involved as well, like handling spousal options and tax strategies when it comes to Social Security, and you can help guide folks through all of that too, right?
That correct. So, you know, when you should take it, when your spouse should take it, you know, what's the best way? You know, Social Security will be taxable for a lot of people. Either 50 or 85% of it will be taxable depending on income. So what's the best decision there as well?
Mark, how about pensions? How does that figure in, and how do you deal with pensions?
Sure. And we don't see a lot of them. I mean, you know, we do have, you know, people that have been with Raytheon a long time. That's probably where we see the most, or people that have worked for the government or U of A, that sort of thing, where they do have some type of pension. But, you know, understanding what those options are, because it's not just take it or leave it. There's also spousal benefits. You know, do you take a percentage for your spouse, a 50 or 75 or 100% on your spouse, or you just take it on yourself? It also looks enticing to just take it on yourself because of the fact that you get a higher amount, but then the spouse isn't covered. So we want to help with those decisions as well. So, you know, we don't see as many pensions as we used to see, but for people that do have them, again, you want to make the best decision you can.
All right. How about rental properties? I know that can get quite complicated as well, and you always stand ready to help folks figure all that out.
Sure. So we'll take that into our planning process as far as consideration, looking at rental properties. You know, are you managing those yourself? Or are you hiring a property management company to do those? What's the strategy? Are you planning on keeping those and passing them down to the next generation? Are you planning on getting rid of those prior to either retirement or by a certain age? You know, what's the best time to sell them? You know, cash flow, all these different questions. So I think it's important that we have these discussions. You know, also have to look at the tax consequences of getting rid of those and what those might look like. But we work with clients that have rental properties that do very well. I've also seen other people that have worked with rental properties and haven't done well. So it just depends on the situation and the knowledge that the investor has.
We're talking about more than just investments on today's edition of Saving with Silverman. And if you're listening to the show right now and you're wondering, how do I get in touch with Mark Silverman? Well, call or text 520-333-7601. That is 520-333-7601. Simply leave your contact information. A member of the team will get back with you. You can arrange a time to come in and have a conversation about all of these topics. 520-333-7601. Good thing is you can do that without any obligation at all and no cost whatsoever. We've talked about Social Security and pensions and rental properties. How about home-related issues? And I'm talking about a lot of different things here, downsizing, relocation, and whatever.
Sure. So through our planning process, we really want to have a good idea as far as, are you planning on keeping the home that you're living in? Maybe it's a big home that you raised your children in and you don't want to keep that house, you want to downsize. Or maybe you want to move to another area, a different state, a different country, whatever that might be. So we want to put that into the plan as well. Looking at, do you have mortgage debt or home equity lines, that sort of thing, because we want to make sure we can either minimize those or make sure that they're manageable and that you have the cash flow to cover those expenses in retirement. Looking at, some people have reverse mortgages or looking at reverse mortgages, are they a good fit for everybody? Probably not. Do they work in some cases? I think so. So it just depends. And we don't do mortgages here in the office. Let me just say that. But we've had clients that have used them and they've worked well. And I've seen other people do them and they haven't worked well. So it's understanding those sorts of things that we can help with.
And things can get really complicated when you throw in health issues.
And that's a big one too. Most people, especially if they're retiring early, we have to look at what they're going to be looking at before they're eligible for Medicare, which is at age 65. How are they going to be covered? How are they going to pay for that health insurance, especially if they're leaving their job where that might have been covered or they're paying part of it? So understanding those sorts of things, looking at the long-term care aspect, what's the strategy, what's the plan? Some people have thought about it, some people haven't. The good news is there's more than just long-term care insurance as the only alternative. There's other options that are out there now that work very, very well, and we can have those discussions so our clients can make a good decision on how they want to proceed from there.
And, of course, everybody has to consider this, and everybody's different. How about lifestyle, Mark?
Sure. I mean, everybody's got a different lifestyle, but what I can tell you, generally what we see is the more you make, the more you spend. So everybody's got a different vision of what they want to do in retirement, but everybody's got a different idea as far as how much they might be spending in retirement. And we've said this before, but they say somewhere between 70 to 80% of your working income you need in retirement. We find a lot of cases people are spending just as much in retirement as they were when they were working. So it's really understanding those, getting deep into the values and goals and what's important, what you want to do, bucket list items, and really trying to see what's achievable and what's not achievable, and laying it all out there and building a plan so that they can account for all these different things and do all the things in retirement that they want to do that they couldn't do when they were working.
There are lots of folks out there right now who would like to get in touch with you and come in and just have a conversation with you, Mark. And what happens when they make that phone call or shoot that text to your office?
Sure, Ron. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to make an offer for our white paper. We haven't done it in quite a while, but I have a white paper that I wrote called The 10 Biggest Mistakes People Make in Retirement. It's about 3 or 4 pages. I'm happy to get that out to anybody that's interested in reading it. I think it has some good information in there. All you have to do is either call us or text us. We need your full name as well as your email address, and we'll be happy to get that out to you. But for those of you who want a little bit more, and again, whether you're a first-time listener to the show or you've heard me for a long time, if anything I've said makes sense, resonates with you, this is now your chance to come in and have a conversation with me in my office to go through this process we call the financial physical. And I can assure you, I will not be trying to sell you investment or insurance products. I repeat, this is not a sales meeting. Rather, we will discuss your values and goals in a way, honestly, you probably never have. This consultation is designed for both individuals as well as couples. However, if you are married, it is mandatory that both spouses attend this initial meeting. So whether you're still working or already retired, this is a great opportunity to see what it looks like with someone who's actually required to have a fiduciary responsibility to look out for your best interest at all times. And as part of the financial physical, we will discuss your cash reserves, debt if you have any, insurance, all types, and how to best allocate your assets, and we'll even benchmark where you are now financially compared to where you want to be, so you have an even better perspective of what's required to achieve your goals for the reasons that are important to you. and this will become the foundation for developing a plan that gives you the highest probability of making that happen. This meeting will be valuable to you whether or not we decide to work together. There is no cost or obligation for this initial appointment. However, it is best suited for people who have saved at least $250,000. And as you probably are aware, I am a certified financial planner professional, and the going hourly rate to meet with a CFP such as myself can cost as much as $300 an hour. So this is a tremendous value and chance to finally get your financial house in order and keep it that way. And your only commitment is an hour or so of your time. We do try our best to help everyone. However, our slots fill up quickly. So I can only guarantee a complimentary meeting for the next 10 people that contact us right now. Please don't procrastinate, because making smarter choices about your money impacts the quality of your life.
Absolutely it does. 520-333-7601. You can call, or if it's more convenient for you, send a text. 520-333-7601. All you have to do is leave your contact information. A member of Mark's outstanding team at Silverman and Associates will get back with you. You can come in and have a conversation. It's just that simple. It's not going to cost you anything, and you can walk away at the end and never come back, if that's what you want to do. So there is no cost involved at all. 520-333-7601 is your number to call to make it happen, or you can send a text that number as well. You're listening to Saving with Silverman. I'm Ron Stutz, along with Mark Silverman, certified financial planner, professional, and the president of Silverman and Associates. There's more coming up on today's show after this.
Life is complicated. It's full of twists and turns and complex issues. The last things you need when planning your financial future are confusing numbers and advisors who just offer you a sales pitch. We believe there's a simpler way to invest. Your financial plan should be built on a plan that's made just for you. It's all about discovering your goals and designing a strategy that will help you get where you want to go. And don't worry, we'll track your progress along the way. Stop wandering your way through your investing life. Come in for a visit today. To schedule a visit, call or text 520-333-7601. That's 520-333-7601.
It's time to get to know Mark Silverman just a little bit better here on Saving with Silverman.
You're listening to Saving with Silverman. Hi, I'm Ron Stutz, along with Mark Silverman, certified financial planner, professional, and the president of Silverman and Associates. And this is an opportunity for you to get to know Mark Silverman a little better, our Getting to Know You segment. And Mark, I'm going to ask you an off-the-wall question here. You might not be thinking about food right now, but who's the best cook you know?
Oh, that's easy. That's my wife. She's a great cook. Although my daughter is catching up to her, I will say that. My daughter made dinner fairly recently, and I was impressed. They're both better cooks than I am, but I'd have to say my wife and my daughter's a close second.
Well, that's pretty cool. You said the right thing. Everybody's going to be happy at home, too.
That's true.
Well, do you cook much yourself?
I do not. There's a few things I could make, mostly eggs. I could pour a mean bowl of cereal, Ron, if you ever are in the area. Those sorts of things.
Boil water for hot dogs and stuff like that.
There you go. Do that. I put those in the microwave.
Nothing complicated here, folks. But Mark's wife, now that's another story, and his daughter too. So there you go. Thanks a lot, Mark. And that is our Getting to Know You segment on today's edition of Saving with Silverman. And there's more coming up after this.
Did you know that Mark Silverman and his team offer a complimentary Get Acquainted meeting where you can learn more about what he can do for you? The goal is to determine whether you might be a good fit for each other. That's because the folks at Silverman and Associates are all about building long-standing relationships. They aren't offering you a slick sales pitch or a get-rich-quick approach to retirement. Instead, Mark offers a simpler approach to investing. It's based upon your goals, and his strategies are tailored to your needs. To find out more about his unique planning process, call or text 520-333-7601. That's 520-333-7601.
Picture this. Your financial statements have come in the mail. What's going through your head as you open them up? Maybe all that financial jargon is flustering. Maybe the numbers are confusing, or maybe those red arrows are leaving you in a funk. Don't base your future on a monthly letter. Keep listening to Saving with Silverman. Learn what true financial planning really looks like.
Welcome back to Saving with Silverman. Ron Stutz along with Mark Silverman. 520-333-7601 is your contact number. If you'd like to get in touch with Mark's office, that is 520-333-7601. Call that number, or you can text if you like. Saving with Silverman is all about making sure that you're planning and you're getting ready for retirement, and that you can be stress-free during retirement and not have to worry about outliving your money. 520-333-7601 is your number to call if you'd like to come in and have a conversation with Mark Silverman. We have lots of good conversations on this radio show, and let's talk about some important terms that folks need to know. I thought maybe we could explore some of these. For some people, these terms are not familiar at all. Others have heard of them but don't have a clear understanding of what they mean. And there may be some people out there who know exactly what we're talking about with every one of these. But what do we need to know, first of all, about in-service distribution? What does that mean, and what do folks need to know?
Sure, Ron. In-service distribution is the same thing as an in-service withdrawal. And basically what that means is what a lot of companies allow is if you're still working, you have, say, a 401k, a 403b, even a TSP, a thrift savings plan, 457 plan, you're able to take your vested portion and roll that into a self-directed IRA. Why that's important is because if you do that, you're able to do anything you want inside of that account. You're not limited to what your employer is the options that they're allowing you to put your money in. So a lot of companies allow this after age 59 and a half. So if you're still working after age 59 and a half, you can usually do an in-service distribution or in-service withdrawal, as we call it. There are companies that actually allow you to do it prior to 59 and a half. So it just depends on the company, but it's something that you should know, and it's an option that's out there. It's a non-taxable event. You're taking the money from your retirement account at the company and rolling it into a self-directed IRA. Again, the benefit is it's giving you more choices, more control, and more options to do what you need to do as far as managing those assets. So it's a great way, and we encourage a lot of clients to do that. You got to make sure you know where you're going to put it, of course, and that's something we can help with.
Mark Silverman, what exactly is a Roth conversion, and what do folks need to know?
Sure. So what a Roth conversion is, it's a Roth IRA, and what you're doing is you're taking money from a traditional IRA and converting it into a Roth IRA. And so when you do that, there's no limit on how much you can do. You can do as much as you want to from the traditional to the Roth. What you want to keep in mind is whatever you do in that given year, all of that money's taxed as ordinary income. So where we do this a lot is in strategies where maybe somebody is slowed down, or maybe they're not working as much, and we have years before they have to start taking what's known as required minimum distribution, which is RMDs. And so we'll take a certain amount, look what their taxable income is for the year, and see what the next tax bracket is. And if we have some room there, we might do a partial Roth conversion to get that money over to the Roth, where they're going to pay taxes on that, but it's getting it out of the traditional side. So it's going to bring down how much they're going to have to take at age 70 and a half.
Okay, what is an ETF, Mark Silverman?
That is an exchange-traded fund, and we talk about these a lot. They're a type of fund very similar to a mutual fund, but in my opinion, much better than a mutual fund. And they're a newer version of a fund. They haven't been around as long as mutual funds, but I can tell you the fees are typically on the average, say, loaded mutual fund, you're probably looking at 80 to 90% less in fees. The other big benefit is they're a lot more tax efficient. There is a lot more transparency of what's in those. We use those a lot in our practice versus using mutual funds. And so if you are investing in mutual funds, I encourage you to look at ETFs. I think they're a better way of doing things. If you're in a 401k, unfortunately, you're probably going to be limited to mutual funds, but there's a lot, you can Google, there's a lot of articles that are out there that compare ETFs with mutual funds. And I think you'll see that ETFs, and again, in my opinion, is a much better way to go.
Mark, I want to throw some more terms at you in just a moment, but I wanted to tell everybody how to get in touch. That is 520-333-7601, 520-333-7601. Mark Silverman's planning process process. It's called the financial physical. And just like you get a physical every now and then for your body, you need to get a physical for your financial situation as well. And I don't know if you've ever had an MRI. You have to crawl in this long cylindrical tube, and it takes a picture of the inside of your body. An MRI. It's sort of like a financial MRI as well, except you don't have to crawl into that very long, uncomfortable tube, and it's certainly not as loud. Mark Silverman, kind of a quiet guy. 520-333-7601 is your number to call, or you can send a text to that number and arrange a visit. One more term here, and this is one that comes up a lot, and things are changing for some financial folks out there right now when it comes to the term fiduciary.
That's used a lot, and there's a lot that's been out there. Department of Labor has recently made some changes, so a lot of advisors are having to change the way they do things. What I can tell you is this, because I've worked on both sides of the table, if you will, but I am not affiliated with any broker dealer. I am what's known as an RIA, which is a registered investment advisor, which means I have a fiduciary responsibility to my clients at all times. That being said, I'm also a CFP, a certified financial planner, so I have a fiduciary responsibility as there as well. The way that the laws have been is if you're working for a bank or broker dealer, wirehouse, insurance company, something along those lines, or insurance salesperson, you didn't have a fiduciary responsibility. What you had to follow is the much lower suitability standard, and there is a big difference. The way that the rule is now, a lot of these people that weren't operating as a fiduciary are now having to operate as a fiduciary in regards to retirement accounts only. So theoretically, if you have money that's not in a retirement account, they don't actually have to act as a fiduciary. They can go back to the suitability standard. I know it sounds confusing, and it really is, but you want to work with someone who's actually put your interest first and is required to. And I'm not saying that if you're working with somebody at a brokerage firm or a bank or something like that isn't, but I can tell you that they're not required to. So it's important, in my opinion, that you work with someone who is a fiduciary that's going to put your goals, your dreams, and your interests first.
I know that at Silverman & Associates, you've been working as a fiduciary all along, Mark, because that's what you wanted to do. And, there are other companies out there right now who are really scrambling, trying to change the way they do a lot of things. And, if you have to change a bunch of stuff in order to represent the best interests of your clients when it comes to retirement planning, then what does that say about what you've been doing all along up until this point?
Exactly. In fact, I have a client who was working with a pseudo advisor, or somebody that was selling some security stuff, mainly products as well as insurance annuities. And they came to me, and they had already bought some other stuff from this other person, and now they're working with me. But they had brought in a letter that this advisor recently sent them, and basically was saying that given these new changes, they're getting out of the investment industry. They're giving up their securities license because they don't want to comply with the fiduciary standard. And you're seeing a lot of companies doing that, which is pretty interesting. It's like you said, Ron, if I have to put my client's interest first, I don't want any part of this business. And it's unfortunate, but that's the fact, and that's how a lot of advisors are seeing things, especially if they're close to retirement or they don't want to deal with it anymore.
Yeah, if you've been working with somebody who's having to scramble a bit right now and change the way they do things, that ought to send up a red flag for you. How about risk aversion? What is that, and what do folks need to know about it?
Sure. Well, it just has to do with what's your comfort level. So risk is an interesting topic. We use an online tool when we analyze our clients' risk. And if somebody's married, we'll get, both spouses to complete the risk tolerance, because we really do a very good job understanding that. But, one, we want to understand what somebody's comfort level is, not just to upside, but to downside. How much are they willing to accept as a loss? And obviously, the more loss you're willing to accept, the more gain you're going to receive. But we want to find out what the right balance is. The other thing we want to do is look at somebody's financial plan and seeing where they are on track with their goals. And ideally, we want to make sure that their risk tolerance and their goals are on track, and those two work harmoniously together to help them achieve their goals. So that's really how there's two parts when we look at those things to make sure that those are in line. But there's no right or wrong when it comes to risk. It's how you feel. And so just because somebody's a certain age, or if they're retired or not retired, doesn't mean they have to be a certain risk. Again, everybody's in a different situation. But what I can tell you, generally speaking, as people get older, they become more conservative. And then once they get into retirement, they become even more conservative. And as they get older, they tend to become more conservative. Generally speaking, that's what happens. There's always room where somebody might feel differently, and that's fine. But that's generally what happens.
I know there are a lot of folks out there listening to the show today and thinking it's about time I go ahead and give Mark Silverman a call or send a text. What happens when they do that?
Sure. Ron, so just like you get a second opinion on your health, we talked about this before, why wouldn't you get a second opinion on your wealth? So whether you're do-it-yourself or already working with someone, this is now your chance to go through this process that we call the financial physical. Do you know what your investments are costing you? If you're still working, are you on track to have the type of retirement you've always envisioned? Or if you're already retired, do you know if you or your spouse are at risk of running out of money while trying to maintain your current lifestyle? I can assure you, I will not be trying to sell you investment or insurance products. I repeat, this is not a sales meeting. In this initial meeting, we're going to address issues of importance to you, provide an overall view of your situation, and give general advice on what needs to be completed. This consultation is designed for both individuals as well as couples. However, if you are married, it is mandatory that both spouses attend this initial meeting. So whether you're still working or already retired, this is a great opportunity to see what it looks like to work with someone who's actually required to have a fiduciary responsibility to look out for your best interest at all times. This meeting will be valuable to you whether or not we decide to work together. There is no cost or obligation for this initial appointment. However, it is best suited for people who have saved at least $250,000. And as you are aware, I am a certified financial planner professional, and the going hourly rate to meet with a CFP such as myself can cost as much as $300 an hour. So this is a tremendous value and chance to finally get your financial house in order and keep it that way. And your only commitment is an hour or so of your time. Just as you want to reach a healthy life from a physical standpoint, you also want to reach and maintain great financial health. So our financial physical is just what the doctor orders. We try to do our best to help everyone. However, our slots do fill up quickly, so I can only guarantee a complimentary meeting for the next 7 people that contact us right now. Please don't procrastinate, because making smarter choices about your money impacts the quality of your life.
If you like to survive and thrive in retirement, then get a plan. Mark Silverman can help you with that. This show is called Saving with Silverman, and in a lot of ways, Mark can really save you. If you haven't planned well up until this point, then give him a call at 520-333-7601, or you can send a text to that number if you like, 520-333-7601. It's all about arranging a time, a very convenient time. You can come into the office in Tucson and have a visit with Mark Silverman, get to know him a little bit. He'll get to know you, and then and only then can he give you any kind of specific advice. Can't really get specific on the radio because there's no cookie cutter solution for retirement. If you want to plan for your retirement, everybody's individual, so that's why it's necessary to come in. It's not a sales pitch, it's just kind of a getting to know you segment. There's no obligation at all, so go ahead and call 520-333-7601. Mark Silverman is a certified financial planner professional, the president of Silverman and Associates in Tucson. Wherever you are in southern Arizona, call or text 520-333-7601. This is Saving with Silverman. I'm Ron Stutz along with Mark Silverman.
Mark Silverman is a lifelong Arizonan, and his firm is based right here in Tucson. When you come in for a visit, you can expect someone who's familiar with your community. At Silverman and Associates, our relationship with you is most important to us. We want to build you a financial plan that's unique to your goals. No generic products, no corporate red tape, just friendly folks looking to give you a comprehensive approach to retirement planning. Come in for a visit today and let us help you build a meaningful retirement. Call or text 520-333-7601. That's 520-333-7601. Planning for retirement shouldn't be a mystery. So why is it so easy to get bogged down with financial terms and advisors who try to offer you a sales pitch? At Silverman and Associates, Mark Silverman and his team take pride in looking after their clients' best interests. Schedule a complimentary review of your situation. Call or text 520-333-7601. That's 520-333-7601.
At Silverman & Associates, we understand that life can be expensive. There are bills to pay, and you might have loved ones you want to look after. With all those extra expenses, it's easy to neglect your own financial health. We want to make sure you'll be well cared for when the time comes. Keep listening to Saving with Silverman.
Welcome back to Saving with Silverman. Mark Silverman, of course, is your certified financial planner, professional at Silverman and Associates. And if you'd like to get in touch, you can call 520-333-7601. That is call or text, if you like, 520-333-7601, because making smarter choices about your money impacts the quality of your life. Mark knows all about that and can help you make the right choices. 520-333-7601. This is the portion of the show we call Story Time. Mark's got lots of stories he can tell you because he's been doing this for a very long time. But Mark, can you tell us about a time when somebody did not listen to your advice and later wished that they had?
Sure. And I try not to beat people up about, everybody makes their own decisions and comes to their own conclusions. I just had another recent case where somebody I'd met with, they weren't actually a client. They actually came into the office from the radio a couple of years ago and just reached back out to me and wish they would have executed with what I had told them to do. Mm-hmm. However, you know what they say, hindsight's always 20/20. So they wish they would have implemented back then. However, they didn't. But now we're moving forward from this point on, and at least they did something rather than still sitting on the sideline. But they had been sitting in a lot of cash and never really invested, and missed out on a huge run in the market, which we've seen, of course. But we've moved forward from that point, and so and this has happened actually a couple different times. I can name a handful of times where this has happened. But again, can't beat yourself up for what decisions you've already made. You can just move forward from this point on. So, somebody that didn't implement, I told them that they needed to do something, whether it be with me or somebody else. They never did anything, but they reached back out. Everything's gone track now, and hopefully they have a sustainable plan, and everything should work a lot better than what they had previously been doing.
Well, that's a great story, and at least they're with you now and have the opportunity to make the right decisions. And I know also that you talk to a lot of folks who listen to the radio show for a long time, and then finally they get around to making that phone call or sending that text and coming in and meeting with you, and then they say, gee, I wish I'd done this a lot sooner. So,
It is. People tend to procrastinate. We all have those tendencies, but nothing really happens until you reach out. But it's your financial future, as we said, Ron, and people have got to make the best of it that they can and make the best decisions for them and their families.
Mark Silverman, of course, is your certified financial planner professional at Silverman and Associates, serving Tucson and all of southern Arizona. One more time, that number, 520-333-7601. Call or text if you prefer. We have more coming up on today's edition of Saving with Silverman after this.
You finished school and worked hard to get your first job. You told yourself you'd save for retirement, but that old jalopy you bought when you were 16 broke down, so you bought a new one. You started to save, and soon you bought your first home. Then came pets, kids, and your world changed some more. You worked hard to provide for your family. You made sure your kids got a good education. You might be sending them to school right now, or maybe it's the grandkids' turn. And of course, you're now making sure your parents are looked after. Through the years, you lovingly sacrificed for your family. Now it's time to take care of you. Love others well by taking care of yourself. Keep listening to Saving with Silverman to discover how to build a financial plan that'll continue providing for you and the ones you love for years to come.
Welcome back to Saving with Silverman. Ron Stutz along with Mark Silverman. 520-333-7601. That is 520-333-7601. The reason I give you that number so many times during the show is because it's so important. You got to reach out, get in touch with Mark Silverman, and then come in for a visit. You can call or text 520-333-7601. Let's talk about early retirement, Mark. I know you work with a lot of folks who want to retire early. Some folks who wanted to and just couldn't. Based on all your experience, when someone says they want to retire early, how early do they usually mean?
It can vary. I think most people consider retirement when they are eligible for Social Security or Medicare, 65, 66, 67. I think that's when most people think that's the magic number. But we've had clients that retire in their 50s, or 60 or whatever it might be. I mean, everybody's situation is different. I think it's a situation where we have to look and see how much money they've saved. Do they have pensions? They can't draw Social Security that early typically. So, how are they going to get the income to last their life, and how are they going to get an income that's going to be increasing? Because inflation is going to be a big factor if we're looking at a 30, 40 year retirement, which if somebody's retiring in their 50s or 60s, they could easily be looking at 30, maybe even 40 years of retirement. So I don't think there's ever too early, but it's a function of how much money they've saved and how they're going to get that income on a monthly basis to last their life expectancy, and if they're married, both of their life expectancies.
Mark, I know that you work with a lot of different people and you've seen a lot of different scenarios, but when somebody says they plan to retire early, is it usually a realistic plan for them?
I think for some people it is realistic and others it's not. Most people have a pretty good idea as far as what they might be looking at, but what they really don't understand is what the power of inflation happens there. And then we're not even talking medical inflation, which is even higher. So it's looking at these sorts of things. Have they planned out? Is there a long-term care strategy in place? Is healthcare, have they really considered what the cost of healthcare could be, of what they might be paying for insurance on their own if they're not eligible for Medicare yet? Those sorts of things. Again, making sure they have an income that's going to be increasing, making sure their expenses are taken care of, thinking about time of what they might be spending their money on in retirement. Are they going to be traveling? Are they going to be going back to work on a part-time basis or doing something totally different? All these things factor in. So it's something that we really need to understand and have these conversations so we can guide people and show them what the numbers look like so they can see what's possible.
You're listening to Saving with Silverman with Mark Silverman. And Mark, when people retire early, do they usually stay out of the workforce?
Some do and some don't, Ron. Sometimes we find that they just want to slow down. They don't want to be doing as much as they were, what we call work optional lifestyle, working because they want to, not because they have to. Some people want to do something totally different. It just depends on the situation. And then some people never want to retire. Some people say retirement is a derogatory word, and I certainly can understand that too. So we have people that want to be done, completely done working. We have others that want to be doing something different, and then we have some that want to continue working and never want to retire. I really enjoy what I'm doing. I probably never will fully retire either, because as long as my mind is okay, I'm going to continue to work with people and help people because I enjoy that, and that gives me great satisfaction. And so I think that's what's important. Everybody's got a different vision of retirement. And for some people, that maybe includes never retiring.
Your Saving with Silverman number to call or text, 520-333-7601. That is 520-333-7601. You don't even have to wait until the end of the show. You can call right now and arrange time to come in for a visit. Just leave your contact information. Mark, another question here about early retirement. What are some of the specific challenges of retiring early?
I think the biggest one's probably going to be healthcare, because it's so up in the air right now. So until somebody's eligible for Medicare, which is age 65, what are they going to do to get health insurance? If they're married, maybe one spouse will continue working, or maybe they have an employer that's allowing them to carry the insurance. Those are great situations. But for those that aren't, it's a challenge, because you're going to be paying more and probably getting less on your own than you were getting in a group plan, than you were working for the company that you're retiring from. So I think that's probably one of the bigger challenges. I'd say second is probably having an increasing income, because even if somebody has a pension, those pensions are flat, meaning it's paying out the same amount each and every month. So fast forward 10, 20, 30 years, that money's not spending the same because of the power of inflation. And so I think that's another important thing that most people don't consider, of making sure even if they're spending the same amount of money each year, costs are going up. So they have to account for that as well.
How can somebody really know if early retirement will work for them?
That's what having a comprehensive financial plan is all about. Most advisors, and I've said this before, are more interested in just selling a product. I heard a couple weeks ago, I was driving around town with my wife and my daughter running errands, and I heard somebody mentioning an annuity that they thought was just the greatest thing ever. And I think there are some annuities that can work well, and there's some others that don't. But to recommend a specific product to a group of people that you don't even know their situation, I think, is just wrong. But again, I think it's important to understand that that's why you need a plan. You need somebody that's going to be objective, that's going to build a comprehensive financial plan for you, that's going to show you here's where you are, here's where you want to be, and give you advice that's going to be in your best interest to make sure you're on track. And if you're not on track, what is possible, what's not possible, what you need to do now to get yourself on track. And the only way to do that is to have a comprehensive financial plan, not by being sold a product or a whatever it might be, or a spreadsheet, given a spreadsheet that isn't a financial plan. It's just a sales tool to sell you a product. I know it's the wrong way to do it, but having somebody that's qualified, in my opinion, you want to be working with a CFP. It's your money. You can go where you want to go, but if they're not a CFP, they're not really taking this industry seriously, in my opinion. So, and if you ask an advisor why they're not a CFP, let him or her tell you the reason for it, and I don't think you'll like the answer. But anyways, that's just my 2 cents. But everybody's got a different vision. But in my opinion, we lead with planning, and that's how we work with our clients.
Mark, there's a listener out there right now who is driving in her car or listening to his radio at home and is interested in getting the financial physical and calling into your office and arranging that. What can they expect when they come in to meet with you?
So, Ron, let me do this. Here's a simple question, and can you answer it honestly and objectively as possible? Aside from the happy hellos and how's the family, and aside from the occasional lunch or golf game, I get it. I'm as much friends with so many of my clients. They become true friends over the years. But I think the question has to be asked, especially in light of the stakes. Is your current financial advisor truly adding value beyond a doubt? Is your current financial advisor truly adding value? It's a valid question, as a friendship or just relationship allows you not to be in a position to ask those critical questions. Are you talking about taxes? Are you talking about Social Security and income and diversification and insurance and estate planning and healthcare? Are you having those annual reviews? But hopefully it's more frequently than that. Is there detailed follow-up? Is there accountability? If you are, if all that is happening, congratulations, because you've got a great relationship, and send your financial advisor a thank you. But if you're not having that, if you're not feeling the value, if you're not having these in-depth conversations, then you owe it to yourself and really to your family to have a conversation with someone else, because if you don't, you're the one that's going to suffer. You're the one that's going to pay the cost, and it'll cost you in more ways than you'll ever know. Let us prove to you how we can help your money go further in retirement. Let us show you with our financial physical. I will believe you'll be shocked at what you'll learn, and this won't cost you anything.
520-333-7601 is your number to call, or you can text if that's more convenient for you. 520-333-7601. That is your number. That'll put you in touch with Silverman and Associates. Mark Silverman, of course, is the president. He's a certified financial planner professional and can certainly help you. There are so many individuals and so many couples and so many families all over the Tucson area, wherever you are in southern Arizona, who are clients who have been helped by Mark Silverman in so many ways, and you should get in touch as well, because you could be added to that list. 520-333-7601. Again, you can call or text and get the financial physical with no obligation and no cost whatsoever. You're listening to the show today from wherever you are. If you're driving or if you're at home, whatever you're doing, thanks for being with us. Saving with Silverman. Mark Silverman, the star of our show. I'm Ron Stutz, and there's more coming up after this.
Life is complicated. It's full of twists and turns and complex issues. The last things you need when planning your financial future are confusing numbers and advisors who just offer you a sales pitch. We believe there's a simpler way to invest. Your financial plan should be built on a plan that's made just for you. It's all about discovering your goals and designing a strategy that will help you get where you want to go. And don't worry, we'll track your progress along the way. Stop wandering your way through your investing life. Come in for a visit today. To schedule a visit, call or text 520-333-7601. That's 520-333-7601.
Do you ever feel like you need Superman to help you with your financial crisis?
I've got you.
You've got me. Who's got you?
Well, we're not superheroes, but we can save the day when it comes to your finances. Keep listening to Saving with Silverman.
This is Saving with Silverman. I'm Ron Stutz along with Mark Silverman. Love the opportunity to be on the show with Mark. Mark, of course, is your certified financial planner professional, the president of Silverman and Associates, wherever you are. If you're in Tucson, anywhere in southern Arizona, Mark can help you. He's helped so many individuals and so many couples and so many families. And if you'd like to get in touch, you can call or text 520-333-7601. That is 520-333-7601. Get in touch with Silverman and Associates. And one more time, that number, 520-333-7601. Time now for story time. And Mark, I know you got lots of stories you could tell us, but tell us about a time when you really had to think hard to come up with a solution for somebody because they had a problem that needed solving that did not have an obvious answer.
Sure. It's a good one. I'm working on a case right now. This is actually a perfect one I think I'll share. I have a couple right now who's already retired in their early 70s now. And they actually have multiple properties, and they were considering consolidating and where they want to be and those sorts of things. They obviously have a house here in Tucson as well. And so just trying to figure out how the numbers work. They're already in retirement, so we know how much they're spending, especially given all the properties that they have, and put a plan together and showed them exactly that if they continue doing what they're doing, and they kind of knew this up front, they were going to run out of money somewhere in their late 80s. So, putting the plan together and showing them that if they actually do get rid of one of the properties, which is one of the most expensive properties they have and a lot of upkeep, and they actually spend the least amount of time in that property, puts them in a great financial position where they can actually do a lot more and enjoy the things that they want to do rather than spending a bunch of money on upkeep on a house that, quite honestly, they're not spending much time in. So, having the plan and showing them exactly where they stood and a year-by-year analysis of how that looked really was beneficial, not just for their sake, but really for their family's sake, and helping them understand that and uncover that situation. So that's just one of the cases. But again, that's why planning is so important, to really analyze somebody's situation and making sure all the pieces of their puzzle work together. And if they don't, what will work, and showing them what the possibilities are.
Well, I know sometimes a lot of what you do is involved with problem solving, and you're good at it. And I know it makes you feel good when you're able to help someone out like that.
I love coming up with solutions for people. That's what gets me excited to come into work every day, is really helping people and coming up with solutions and making sure that everybody could live out their dreams and have the financial independence that they really want.
Another story with a good result, a good ending, with Mark Silverman here on Saving with Silverman. Again, your number to call or text is 520-333-7601. You're listening to Saving with Silverman. We appreciate your being there today, and we'll be back after this.
At Silverman and Associates, we believe you deserve a financial plan that's customized to your situation. That's because no one strategy could possibly fit your unique needs and goals. From strategizing to execution, our goal is to give you undivided attention. Come in for a visit today and learn what it looks like to put your retirement dreams into action. Call or text 520-333-7601. That's 520-333-7601.
Welcome back to Saving with Silverman. Ron Stutz along with Mark Silverman. 520-333-7601. Call or text 520-333-7601. Of course, Mark's on this show every week talking about retirement, planning for retirement, making sure that you can have a stress-free retirement and achieve peace of mind. And when you get right down to it, isn't that what we all want? 520-333-7601. That number can help you get there. We have some great questions, Mark, that have come in from our listeners. We have a question from Jack in the Foothills. Jack says, we're retiring in 2 years and plan to sell our home and move to the beach. But home values in our neighborhood are sky high right now, so I'm wondering if I should sell now and rent for a couple of years. Is it a bad idea to rent at this stage of my life?
Well, Jack, thanks for the question. Go to the beach at this time of year sounds like a great idea. Anytime you can be in cooler temps or near water,
it does.
Is not a bad thing. If you feel that it's easier to sell now and you want to rent something on the short term, I don't think that's a bad idea. But I would be looking at and seeing, if you are going to rent, look around, see what's available, what you might be spending, making sure that that's not going to put your budget out of whack if you're spending a lot more money than you thought you were. The other thing is, what's the time frame? Because if you do have a large gain, and I'm not trying to give you tax advice, but if you do have a large gain on your property and you're going to be buying something somewhere else, say in California, wherever you might be going, I think there's rules there as far as how long you have to sell it before you have to repurchase something to defer the taxes. So that's something else you want to speak to a CPA about. But it's a great question. But again, I'd be looking around if you want to rent and you're ready to get out of your house now, and that's a decision that you for sure are going to make. That's something you want to consider. But if I can be any help, feel free to reach out to us. But if you do decide to sell, good luck.
Well, Jack, it also helps that home values in your neighborhood are sky high right now. That's a really good thing.
That too, because in Tucson, it's hit or miss. I mean, we've done okay here, but it certainly hasn't been as hot of a market as Phoenix has been.
Yeah. Beth in Rita Ranch has a question. Beth says, I just paid my last tuition payment, so my kids are officially off the payroll. Boy, that's a good feeling. How much life insurance do I need at this point?
Yes, Beth, congratulations. And, that I'm sure that's a great feeling. So, but as far as life insurance, if you already have, depends on what type you have. If you have term, I don't know how much you may or may not need of that. It depends on if you have any debt, if you still have a mortgage, if you're married, all these sorts of things. But life insurance can be used for different purposes now. If you have an older policy, which I'm assuming you do, it doesn't have a lot of the benefits as far as accumulation for maybe long-term care that you might be able to use. Sometimes we can use it for retirement income. There's lots of different options for life insurance that weren't available down the road, weren't available previously. So, we're finding a lot of people are replacing older policies with new ones just for these long-term care benefits and because their situations have changed and maybe why you bought it originally isn't applicable anymore and maybe you need it for other reasons. So before you cancel it, it might make sense to look and see, what you have and that sort of thing. But we're happy to do a life insurance policy review with you. We do them all the time. But if that's something that you're interested in, feel free to give us a call here at the office.
We're talking about all things retirement on Saving with Silverman, as we always do. Ron Stutz here along with Mark Silverman. 520-333-7601 is your number to call or text 520-333-7601. One more question today in the mailbag. Randall in Midvale Park says, what do you see as the hot stocks right now?
Well, Randall, thank you for the question. If you've heard me before, we're not we don't do hot stock tips here in the office. That industry is, I guess, still around in some places, but we don't do those sorts of things. We're really focused on financial planning rather than picking a hot stock tip. You can get on the internet and see which stocks have done well if that's what you're looking for. But we're really more focused on diversification, really helping our clients and picking what the right asset mix is and doing that for our clients. But if you want to have a greater discussion as far as which stock tips you're looking for, I would probably call a broker, which we're not. We're more in the planning, financial advising, and planning phase rather than picking hot stocks.
I knew that's how you were going to answer that question. Oftentimes,
you've heard me before, Ron.
When you get a hot stock tip, it's too late.
It really is. And there was a thing with I was just watching this past weekend. I think it was on CNBC where they had I think it's American Greed. Do you ever see that show, Ron?
Yeah, I have.
And they were talking about one of the firms that was doing the hot stock tips, years ago, and how they would call, get a cold call list and start calling people with pitching stocks. And it's a good thing that industry is over with, in my opinion, because that didn't help anybody except for the people selling those stocks.
Well, you're not all about that, but you are about a lot of other good things. And I know that there are folks out there who could certainly benefit from a conversation with you in your office. I know that I'm going to tell them how to make that happen in just a moment. But what happens when they come in and sit down in your comfortable office and just get to know you?
Sure, Ron. So I'm going to do two things. One is I'm going to offer that white paper again. So I wrote a white paper called The Top 10 Mistakes People Make in Retirement. It's a short read, but it's something I'm happy to share with anybody that's interested. All you have to do, and Ron will give the number out, is call or text us. I need your full name as well as your email address, and we'll be sure to get that out to you. There's no strings attached or anything like that. But for those of you that want more, And whether you're a first-time listener to the show or you've heard me for a long time, it doesn't matter. If anything I've said makes sense or resonates with you, this is now your chance to come in and have a conversation with me, to go through a process we call the financial physical. And I can assure you, I will not be trying to sell you investment or insurance products. I repeat, this is not a sales meeting. This is totally different than everybody else on the radio. I can assure you of that. Rather, we'll discuss your values and goals in a way, honestly, you probably never have. This consultation is designed for both individuals as well as couples. However, if you are married, it is mandatory that both spouses attend this initial meeting. So whether you're still working or already retired, this is a great opportunity to see what it looks like to work with someone who's actually required, and I've been for a long time, to have a fiduciary responsibility to look out for your best interest at all times. And as part of the financial physical, we will discuss your cash reserves, debt if you have any, insurance, all types, and how to best allocate your assets. And we'll even benchmark where you are now financially compared to where you want to be, so you have an even better perspective of what's required to achieve your goals for the reasons that are important to you. This becomes the foundation for developing a plan that gives you the highest probability of making that happen. This meeting will be valuable to you whether or not we decide to work together. There is no cost or obligation for this initial appointment. However, it is best suited for people who have saved at least $250,000. And as you probably are aware by now, I am a certified financial planner professional, and I believe the only one locally here on the radio in Tucson. And the going hourly rate to meet with a CFP such as myself can cost as much as $300 an hour. So this is a tremendous value and chance to finally get your financial house in order and keep it that way. And your only commitment is an hour or so of your time. We try our best to help everyone. However, our slots do fill up quickly. So I can only guarantee a complimentary meeting to the next 3 people that contact us right now. Please don't procrastinate, because making smarter choices about your money impacts the quality of your life.
Mark Silverman is at Silverman & Associates in Tucson, and if you'd like to come in and get to know Mark a little bit and have him get to know you, you can do that with no obligation and no cost at all. 520-333-7601. That is 520-333-7601. Mark is a certified financial planner professional and the president of Silverman & Associates. You can get the financial physical with no obligation and no cost whatsoever. 520-333-7601. One more time, 520-333-7601. We appreciate your listening to today's show. And Mark, it's been a good show. I think you've touched on a lot of really good topics, and we will talk with you again next time. I hope you have a great week.
Thanks, Ron, and I want to thank you out there for listening. And if we could be of any assistance, please let us know, and make sure you stay cool out there. I know it's hot.
Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC is a registered investment advisor. Information presented is for educational purposes only and does not intend to make an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any specific securities product, service, or investment strategy. Investments involve risk and, unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. Be sure to first consult with a qualified advisor, tax professional, or attorney before implementing any strategy or recommendation discussed herein.